welcome to a complete mix of RC Off-Road Championships. We have large-scale four-wheel drive, but first a 1/10 two-wheel drive buggy report from Nick Damon.
So welcome back to Valladolid for the two-wheel drive European Off-Road Championship in association with Proline and Team Durango. Well, this event, which actually took place just before the four-wheel drive event that was on RC Racing TV a couple of months ago, was all about, we thought, two men. The yellow buggy of Jorn Neumann, the Durango, the German, and behind him Lee Martin in the orange and white Tamiya buggy. Lee, of course, the defending champion in this class, two-wheel drive, and Jorn, the defending champion in four-wheel drive. Championships they won in Fairing last year. So we move forward 12 months and we change a few countries, and this is called the Spanish multi-surface track with the jumps, with the cobbles, with the sand, with the dirt, with the green mile, as the boys who were there at the event christened it. But it has to be said, this is the first leg of three, and of course all these European Championships are three-legged A finals, best two to count. Really was a bit of a benefit for Jorn. He led from the start, as you've seen. He's leading in the middle, as you're seeing now. And whilst Lee got quite close, he was never really able to make the move. And we join now Jorn on the last lap, and he's got a yawning gap as Jorn. It's a tricky circuit. And certainly we saw Martin Bayer's victory in four-wheel drive on, there's still plenty of chances for errors. But certainly having nailed down this two-wheel drive machine, and Jorn did say that the two-wheel drive class one he really wanted to win, probably because he was already the four-wheel drive champion, though he didn't retain it, and that was the end of the first leg, so he picked up a maximum first place. Lee got second, and I think it was Neil Cragg in third, and then off they go again, second leg. Now, the usual rules apply. If Jorn wins this, and it's a bit of a messier start, he will become the European champion. If Lee or anyone else can stop him, we go to the third leg with the Euros still open. And again, they've got him very much in grid order. Lee just ahead there, you see the orange buggy going over the hill now, ahead of Neil Cragg, and David Ronefalk also involved, the man who won the 1/8 off-road buggy IC championship last year. But this is it. Jorn miles away, having no problems at all. At this point, we're thinking, oh, well, this is going to be a pretty easy win for Jorn. He's going to make it 1-2, and but then a couple of laps later, Jorn just gets just tips it slightly, getting too tight, rolls it, and this gives Lee his chance. Lee's out in the lead, never as confident over this section, that green mile section, as Jorn was, but this more flat section was where Lee was excelling, and of course he's won the last, I think, 3 two-wheel drive European champions, looking to make it 4 on the spin. So at this point, you can see not only he got past Jorn, but he's pulling away. And we're thinking, aha, now we're going to get a third lap. But Lee, it has to be said, had been rather prone to errors all week. Just not had that sort of supreme, relaxed ability that we've seen from him over previous European Championships. And there've been again, and that's what happened there. He rolled it again into these minuscule mistakes. He kind of had eliminated in the previous years, had crept in, and he had a very patchy European Championship. This now meant that Jorn only had to finish this lap and he would win the second leg, and therefore he'll become the European two-wheel drive champion. So with 2 wins, Lee would have 2 seconds. Lee managed to get close again, but it was in fact quite easy, and Jorn just had to go around this final corner and sweep over to take the championship. We want for Durango, Team Durango. They are the European Championship, as is Jorn Neumann. So now for the third leg, and it was all to play for second place. Lee Martin in the orange buggy leaps into the lead, and he has 2 second places. Behind him is Neil Cragg in the white and sort of brownie buggy, and that has he's got thirds. So basically, whoever finished ahead out of these two would get second overall, because a first and a third, which what Neil Cragg would have, and therefore 4 points beats 2 seconds, which is 4 points as well. Neil Cragg, of course, the long-time associate driver and ex-world champion. Well, Lee streaked ahead, as you can see, and then he just made another mistake, and it was just all going wrong for Lee. These little mistakes are creeping in the whole time, but then he pushed now to put some pressure on Mr. Cragg. So the two Brits now battling for the lower steps of the podium as they come sharp round. This was a really cracking battle between the two of them. Scrapping in minor places. Jorn was already had his feet up, probably having a beer in the pits, whereas the work was being done by the Englishmen as they looked to make themselves second and third. Behind them, I think, was David Ronefalk, who was also fighting him, but he really didn't have a chance of getting past Lee. And then we move a bit further. It is this close again. It's pretty much the sort of thing you see in British National Championships the whole time. Neil Cragg and Lee Martin battling it out, trying to share the same piece of tarmac, or in this case, the same piece of dirt, stone, carpet, AstroTurf, anywhere on the track. But as it was, as they crept now, it's Cragg really was able to almost block, and again, Lee not looking to have that confidence. And it makes another mistake and goes wide then. In fact, it was Darren Bloomfield who, another Brit, so it's 3 Brits here battling in this leg 3, and it was Bloomfield who made the place up on Lee, and that's meant that Cragg was going to get through and finish the 3rd leg in the lead. He was going to win that one, which would mean that he would then become 2nd overall in the two-wheel drive European Championship. So the final result was Jorn Newman for Durango won, Neil Cragg for Associate was 2nd, Lee Martin was 3rd overall, Darren Bloomfield was 4th, and that is how the two-wheel drive shaped up in Valladolid.
For the full lowdown on the 1/10th Buggy Euros, visit rcracing.tv. Now for large-scale action with John Hindhaugh.
Here's our Proline and Elcon Models grid lineup for the EFRA 4-wheel drive large-scale off-road European Championships. It's Dario Vaselli from Croatia who is on grid 1. The German Alexander Schmidt on grid 2. On 3, Christian Lagasse from the Netherlands. Czech Republic represented on grid 4 with Petter Hardman. Germany on 5 with Mark Kreisig. Finland on 6, Pekka Heikkilä. Dirk Kellerman from Germany on 7. 8, Alan Safrayan from Turkey. Juni Hiltunen from Finland on 9, and from grid 10, Michael van der Ven from the Netherlands. So off we go, the buzzer sounds here at Alcalá in Spain for half an hour of the inaugural 4-wheel drive large-scale off-road championship. Everybody getting a little bit tied up in the midfield, and that has allowed our poleman Dario Vaselli to pull out as Schmidt puts the fantastic broadside manoeuvre from Schmidt in 2nd, Lagasse from the Netherlands in 3rd. So 1, 2, 3 from the grid are in positions 1, 2 and 3. Very, very dusty, and there's 1 or 2 little areas that are difficult, but as you can see, commitment pays real dividends here as you can drift these buggies around. And it's awesome. If I forget to talk at any time, dear viewer, I apologise, but it's only because I will be enjoying, as you are, just how these buggies are being set up so early for some of these tight corners to keep the power on. Half an hour, 30 minutes to go, and this is very rough, and already the issue that we wondered whether it would be here is the dust, and it is hanging in the air just a little bit. The wind coming from left to right on our camera shot may just help us clear it, but there will be some element, or should be at least some element, of tyre management here, because you do not want to be using up all your tyres. If you remember the 2-wheel drives that we watched on RC Racing, as we have a battle for the lead, then through goes Schmidt. Schmidt goes into the lead, and that was a little bit, well, untidy to say the least by the leader Vaselli. But if you remember the 2-wheel drives, we did have tyre issues here, and well, 4-wheel drives, obviously you're splitting the power between 4 wheels, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be any easier, as through goes Christian Lagasse into 2nd place. And then Vaselli's just gone back through again, so Lagasse back down into 3rd position. Schmidt just beginning to ease away from this battle. Schmidt, there he is. And the German, Alexander Schmidt, has been pretty decent this weekend. Qualified 2nd. Just a one-off final here, so no real second chances. As you can see from the state of the BMW in the background, the prevailing wind has been that way, and the dust is substantial. That back window is going to need a bit of water throwing on it before they think about driving away. Beautiful buggy control here from these large scales. I do like this form of racing. I know that purists will say that these 4-wheel drives are perhaps a little bit easier to handle than their 2-wheel drive counterparts, but you do get the most awesome pictures. And this is the first time we've had a European Championship for the 4s, for the 4-wheel drive versions of these machines. As you can see, it's all about just getting the steering and the balance of the power right. And now, at the end of this race weekend here in Spain, the track surface itself is not helping, and every lap is a voyage of discovery as we continue to watch the 2nd place battle. Dario Vaselli on that rainbow with the blue roof in 2nd place at the moment. It's still Christian Lagasse from the Netherlands with the yellow front to his buggy in 3rd place. Maybe Lagasse has been over there, or just had a little bit of contact. The rear wing just at a slightly jaunty angle. Maybe it was just a trick of the light there. No, it is slightly leaning. It is, I think, perhaps just a little bit loose there as the second place driver, once again, Dario Vaselli, just gets a little bit sideways coming onto the start-finish line. Half an hour here means not only do the machines take a battering, but also the concentration levels of the pilots, of the drivers, is something that you just have to pace yourself through. There's no refuelling here. These buggies can do the full half an hour on that. Again, Vaselli just committing so early. And it does rather remind me of the late 1980s when all of the Group B rally cars found their way into national and international rallycross and had a surf heat of power, and they took a whole load of weight out of them, ran without restrictors, and they had 600 and 700 horsepower, and Vaselli rolls out of second place. Vaselli rolls out of second place, and through goes Lagasse and Mark Kressig as well. Mark Kressig of Germany from grid 5, and there he is in the white with the fluorescent yellow on the top. Yeah, just the way that these buggies are being committed very early to the corners to get the power on, to punch them out with the four-wheel drive. Weigh about 12 kilos, these machines, 7.5 horsepower. I was talking to one of my broadcast colleagues about this after the two-wheel drive final. He was telling me that his first 100cc Britain kart only had about 10 horsepower, and that had to power him and the kart. So that'll tell you just how much power these guys are dealing with. And these are marvellous things to watch, and tremendously spectacular. So these engines working quite hard over this half an hour. They are 28 cc's and make the fantastic noises that you're hearing from the far side of the circuit at the moment as we're watching Vaselli, the fastest qualifier, trying to get back into some kind of contention. It is still Alex Schmidt who leads it from Lagasse in second place, and up into third position there is Kressig. Kressig at the moment not able to pull away from Vaselli, but neither is he gaining on the second place driver. Leader's got away just a little bit. There he is on the far side on the back straight going over the AstroTurf. So quite a big gap. I would say that's 5 or 6 seconds now. We'll see as they come through this time. And now the battle for third place just beginning to hot up again. As I say that, just a little bit of a rear wheel wheelie there by Vaselli. Just makes him drop off. He's keen on that inside curb there, and I'm not sure that's helping him, if I'm honest. So there is the battle for third, and again Kressig just getting a little bit out of shape, and that's allowed Vaselli to get in there. This is the battle for third. Last place on the podium. No second chances here. Just a single one-off final. Now let's see if Vaselli is still... Oh, that is brilliant though by Vaselli, isn't it? That big long drift there. Now let's see if he heads for the... Again, he's heading for the curbs, and I'm not sure, as I say, that is really helping his or the buggy's momentum. Really give this one a little bit of a wider berth, but it's this next right-handed hairpin after the jump that he climbs the curb every time. That's better. And look, he punches out of there much better when he does that. So there's second, third, fourth. Loving the tails away shot, as the infield looks rather like that and is very dusty, with Schmidt at the moment stamping his authority on this final. And there a mistake by Vaselli, as perhaps his tiredness is beginning to show through. Leader well away from second, third and fourth, not even in the same camera shot there, as Christian Lagasse is holding his own. There he is going over the jump into the hairpin. Oh, and again a big sideways moment from Kressig. Now I think that those two are closing in just a little bit, just a tiny bit on second place. Not enough to challenge at the moment, but there, don't need a challenge when you make mistakes like that. And Kressig is almost handed second place, and now though he has to immediately switch on. Isn't that amazing? Because you've been cruising around just making sure you hit your marks, doing your lap times, and then the man in front of you makes a mistake and you've got to go into attack mode straight away. if you're the man like Legas who made the mistake there in that mainly white buggy with the light coloured front end, if you've made the mistake, you've immediately got to think defensively and then get yourself back into a rhythm. And again, he's tipped there into a bit of a spin, but I would say Kressig backed out of that, and rightly so. He'll now have a look down the inside, but he's going to get no grip there, and that's given... Well, as they went across the line, I think he'd given up the position there, but he gets it back again as Vesely sniffs blood as well. Second, third and fourth. One of these guys is going to be unlucky and not stand on the podium. Schmidt well away. And secretly, Schmidt, who is catching a bit of back marker traffic at the moment, Peter Hartmann, the first man to go a lap down, so the Czech Republic driver from Grid 4 is not having the best run. And so I'm sure secretly Alexander Schmidt, the German, will be quite happy to see this battle going on, because no one is able to get their heads down and get after him. Can't let this take his concentration over though. Second, third, fourth position into these hairpins, and you can see there the dust just hanging in the air. Remember, all of the drivers up on the driver's stand, roughly where this camera is that we're watching the battle from at the moment, and Schmidt out of sight. Alex Schmidt has this one tied up, so long as he makes no mistakes, and so long, of course, as he's looked after his tyres. Of course, that is a worry here with the very, very dry conditions. And Kressig again, now back into his rhythm. Kressig and Vesely, when they get those buggies going, they are very, very good indeed, aren't they? And look at the way Vesely commits to the faster corners. Now that was just a roll by the second place driver and nothing there. I'm sure there's a bit of afters there. I wonder if Legas there just drove into Kressig, but Kressig still down in fourth. Legas now into third. Good news for Vesely, he's back up into second. But I've got to say, I'm pretty certain that Christian Legas had rolled that before Mark Kressig was on the scene. So I can't imagine that will be looked at. And there was almost a bit of a gentleman's excuse me going on there at that infield hairpin. And there's Kressig down the inside. Takes advantage perhaps of the mistake, and all over the place for Legas, who was putting too much throttle into that there and completely lost control of his buggy coming onto the start-finish straight. Almost joined the pit lane, and there are no pit stops in this race. So Schmidt then leads. It's poleman Dario Vesely, or top qualifier should I say, Vesely back into second, the Croatian driver. And then here's the battle for the last place on the podium. And this is Kressig, the German from Grid 5, taking his opportunities when they've been presented to him. Christian Legas, who started in third position, is not letting him get away, and again a big fishtailing moment from the German. Now, can the judgment get round the outside? No, he dives to the inside. This is where his mistake was before, and he almost repeats it there. Had to get off the power. Really needs to be just a little bit more tidy through there. I think this might be the most rutted I have seen even an off-road circuit, particularly for a European Championship. Can't really, the big hole there has caused everybody the problems. You can't really blame the organisers. They've done their best to keep the track in some kind of condition, but the option was to heavily water it and then perchance deal with the issues that would have caused. But we have got some very big ruts here, and everyone, even when in clear air, as Kressig is now, you are still dealing with your buggy being thrown about, as you see from Alexander Schmidt. That is the leader, and every lap you cannot take for granted that the buggy is going to go where you put it last lap, but you can see that he is being quite circumspect on the throttle. Oh, Vesely is over on the back straight, and you can just see how big those machines are there as the marshal runs to it, and that, I'm afraid, is second place. That's gone on the wheel. The left rear wheel has gone, spins off, and that is the fastest qualifier, I'm afraid, out of it. As you can see, the marshal not risking back injury by picking it all up, but that looks like the hub was still intact, but the wheel has disappeared. Never a good day when parts of your car do different lap times, I always think. Doesn't matter, that is as true in skill racing as it is in full size. Well, that is one of the main contenders out, and Alex Schmidt, who didn't have much to worry about before that, has even less now, because the gap between him and second place has just gone up, and that will leave Mark Kressig in second place. So it is Alex Schmidt from Germany leading his countryman Mark Kressig by a distance at the moment. I think so. Kressig there coming into the infield technicals, as our leader was already well rounded, and as you can see, Alex Schmidt is not pressurising even the back markers now. He's easing back. That is Kressig from grid 5. That's why there's the number 5 on it. Our two leaders running the NCT buggies, and as you can see at the moment, he's not making any real charge towards the front. I do think that Schmidt is well looking at his lap times as he's back. He doesn't need to take any chances in the traffic. He's dealing with it where he can, allowing people to make mistakes around him. So Alexander Schmidt then leads it out. Let's see if we can pick up that white buggy. There he is, going on to the start-finish straight. And you have to say, he doesn't look like he's leaning on it too much there. It has been a pretty decent drive. He hasn't had any pressure really. That MCD buggy looking fairly pristine, dusty. Take a bit of compressed air to blow that out before he puts it all away and heads back to Germany. Just looking at the clock, he might, he'll get one more lap in from here, but unless he does something incredibly stupid, or I hope I don't curse him, there's any further mechanical issues, it looks for certain to me. Yep, goes on to his last lap now, and it looks like the inaugural EFRA four-wheel drive large-scale off-road European Championship will be taken by MCD, by Germany, and by Alexander Schmidt in our Proline and Elcon Models coverage. And a good job done, second fastest qualifier. Oh, now not the time to show up, Alex, but he is just showboating a little bit, stays away from the inside of that big hole that has caught one or two drivers out. It's not quite, you could kick the clutch in, but it's not far away. Gets into the dirt and gets very sideways. Doesn't need to be doing that. That's a lapped driver behind him, so there's no worries there. The checkered flag is out, and we can confirm then the win for Alexander Schmidt. And where is second and third? Answer a very long way back. Mark Kressig and Christian Lagasse should be second and third, and here is Nick Damon.
Alexander, how do you feel?
Yes, I'm very happy now. The World Championship.
Your first European Championship and a very easy race?
Yes, yeah, a little bit. Dario was on my heck, was good.
Well done to Alan Sarafian in 5th position from grid 8. Pekka Haikala from grid 6 got up to 4th, and our podium, Christian Lagasse started 3rd, finished 3rd. Mark Kressig got up to 2nd place and held it. Alexander Schmidt from 2nd place wins the EFRA four-wheel drive large-scale off-road European Championships here on RC Racing TV with Proline and Elcon Models.